podcast. I'm your host, Noah Love, and today we will be talking about the Knicks. Apparently, they will not be hiring Michael Malone. They said, I've heard that is off the table. We'll get into that. We'll also get into will ESPN ruin inside the NBA. We will talk about that. We will also talk about the problem with NBA media right now and how they anoint players too soon. We will talk about that, and then we will also talk about is Tyrese Halliburton a superstar? We will talk about all that, but let's start with inside the NBA. As you know, the NBA on TNT is done. They are now going to ESPN. They're moving to ESPN. Inside the NBA, the transition, they said inside the NBA will reportedly run as usual with extensive post-game show on ESPN networks, even though ESPN doesn't like to really do post-game shows. Okay. By almost all previous accounts, ESPN has no plans to interfere with Inside the NBA. Please don't. When the iconic studio show transitions from TNT to its own networks next season. But concerns linger that ESPN will do something to mess things up. They always do, specifically around the timing of the show. Will ESPN, a network that doesn't do dedicated NBA postgame coverage, continue to allow Inside the NBA to run as usual after games? Per a report Monday, it will. From Front Office Sports reported further details about the show's move to ESPN Network starting in the 2025-26 season. Most notably that Inside the NBA will be allowed extensive post-game run after games that air on ESPN networks, including its parent network, ABC. From the report, there will be an extensive post-game show, says sources. ESPN goes to let the post-game segment run as long as it did on TNT. That's cause for relief for the show's loyal viewers like me, many of whom have watched some combination of Ernie Johnson, Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley, and Shaquille O'Neal guide and entertain them after NBA games for decades. This show is appointment viewing for fans, and even when the games that the show covers are not. Despite the reassurance, there's been legitimate reason for concern that ESPN won't give Inside the NBA the runway that it's enjoyed at TNT. I want to stop it right here to say this. The stuff that Shaq, wow, Shaq, okay. The stuff that Shaq, mainly Charles as well, Barkley and Kenny are able to get away with saying on TNT they have that leeway. ESPN, look, they're owned by Disney. I don't know if they're gonna get that leeway, but as you know, you're not gonna be able to control Charles or Shaq. You're not really gonna be able to control them. So I just wanted to add that in there. Like they gonna do what they want. So ESPN, just let them do them. Okay. ESPN's track record with decisions around NBA studio content is dicey at best, and a big reason that the chairman, Jimmy Pitaro, outsourced it to Inside the NBA when he saw the chance. Kenny Smith was skeptical. Smith raised those concerns in an interview with New Yorker after the TNT ESPN partnership was announced. We have the same crew of people doing the show, Smith said, but the timing, are we a half hour now? Are we 45 minutes, 15 minutes? Those are the things you can control when you own your IP, but we don't. That was the only part that made me uncomfortable, disheartened, because I felt that the four of us should have went to ABC to negotiate that deal. I'm not saying that our executives don't know how to do that, but we are the IP now. They are the show. So, will Unfiltered Charles Barkley run on ABC Airways? Podcaster and former ESPN writer and personality Bomani Jones floated concern about Inside the NBA running as a dedicated post-game show on Monday, while raising another question: is ESPN really going to let Charles Barkley speak unfiltered into post-game coverage over traditional and inherently more conservative airways of ABC? Bomani Jones basically said, "My concern about taking insight to ESPN. ESPN has historically has not done post game shows. They haven't. They don't do those. It's either after the game ends, NBA countdown crew may give a little bit of like maybe 60 seconds, but after that they're off the air. They're on to something else. Depending if it's a night game, they're on the Sports Center with SVP, which is a great show by the way. Like that show. It's depends. Jones says if you're not going to do inside the NBA post game show, you're getting rid of the best part. Correct. It doesn't seem like it'll be a gratifying experience, but they also can't put that on ABC. That would be preposterous. What happens to SVP, other ESPN shows? There's also the subject ESPN's existing coverage. ESPN has an established pre post game routine that features one of its strongest brands, SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt, which I just mentioned. Is ESPN going to preempt Van Pelt in favor of an outsourced product? SVP show frequently features an immediate post game interview with the star of the game, which is also the turf of Inside the NBA. Doing both shows at the same time on different ESPN networks doesn't make much sense. Then there's ESPN's much maligned existing studio coverage that handles pregame and halftime coverage. That's also the turf of the Inside the NBA team. ESPN previously announced that NBA Countdown, NBA Today will continue to air in some form, so Inside the NBA isn't fully replacing ESPN's studio coverage. NBA Today, okay. NBA Countdown, why is there still the need for that? Just have NBA Countdown be these four. Why do I need Stephen A on my television? I know Stephen A's the face of the network. I've seen him everywhere. I don't need to see him another 30 minutes. So you're going to keep NBA Countdown what? So I can hear Malika Andrews and Stephen A and Big Perk? I don't care. Sorry, Bob Myers, even though I like you. But like, I see them every day for 2 hours. And I see Perk on NBA Today. He's regular on there. I don't need to see them. I just have to. They inside the NBA should be taking over their NBA coverage for the countdown and then the pregame, halftime, postgame. That should be inside the NBA. How will all these properties coexist? There weren't specifics addressed, and ESPN did not comment on how Inside the NBA will be scheduled. But thanks to its extensive collection of networks, ESPN does have options. If the game airs on ABC, ESPN will have the option of tossing the post game inside the NBA coverage to ESPN. Would he use a similar strategy to juggle Inside the NBA with SVP SportsCenter airing both in competing time slots on different ESPN networks? Seems equally preposterous. It does. They are both marquee spotlight shows that demand access to post-game coverage from the arena. Well, the legendary Inside the NBA studio team will appear on ESPN and ABC surrounding high-profile live events, including ESPN's pregame, halftime, postgame coverage of the NBA Finals on ABC, the conference finals, the NBA playoff, all ABC games after January 1st, Christmas Day, opening week, and the final week of the season, and other marquee live events. Yeah, so yeah, they'll probably not do a lot of games in like the first part of the season, but then when we get to the like January, they'll start Christmas Day doing more. Okay, glad they're covering the finals too. Uh, but ESPN's gonna royally screw this up, and you just know they are. you just know ESPN is going to royally screw this up. I'm sorry. They don't know how to use inside the. They're just going to screw it up. Whether it's because Barkley's only working another 2 years, whether it's them trying to censor somebody, whether it's them putting them on in a bad time slot, or whatever the case may be. ESPN is going to find a way, because they always do. They've found a way to royally screw up their NBA coverage this much. Their NBA coverage stinks. It stinks. You know it. I know it. It's right in front of our faces. It stinks. It doesn't. It used to be great. It used to have the feeling. There's no feeling anymore. It just feels like another regular game. TNT felt like the playoffs. Mike, love Mike Breen, but his analyst, he should still be with Van Gundy uh and Mark. And even if Van Gundy wanted to go coach, okay, replace Van Gundy with Tim Legler. Tim Legler should be doing the finals. I think Tim Legler's probably the best play-by-play analyst they got, or play-by-play analyst, color analyst. That's what I mean. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. ESPN's gonna somehow royally screw it up because they always do. They know if you're not if unless you're the NFL, because NFL coverage, their NFL coverage is great. I don't have a bad word to say about it. Unless you're the NFL, they know how to royally screw things up. They just know how to. So hopefully they don't, but it's whatever, man. But at least we're getting inside the NBA to stay. Chuck is gonna he's gonna be saying some wild things. Wild things. So I'm curious to see how it works out. Now, to our next story. Mike Malone will not be getting hired by the Knicks, as what it looks like. I've heard some coaching candidates like Jay Wright. I've heard that. Why would Jay Wright coming out of retirement? But Jay Wright's not even a sure thing. I don't even know how you would feel about that. I don't even know how their fans would feel about that. Who else? I heard Ime Udoka, which to me doesn't make any flipping sense, because like, why would Houston ever, under any circumstance, let him go? That no, so Ime's not happening. Mike Malone might be their only option. I mean, they can get an assistant coach from like Cleveland or something. I don't know. This is why I went on the rant I did yesterday. It's up on the channel. Go watch, go like, comment. You can debate me in the comments. Do whatever. I will stand by the fact that this move makes zero sense. If you're not hiring Mike Malone, then honestly, in terms of coaching candidates, what are we doing? Are you going to go out and get Taylor Jenkins? Jenkins doesn't put you any closer than what Tibbs does. Jenkins has never even been to a conference finals, which isn't entirely his fault, but you get the point. And Jay Williams, I saw on Twitter, he brought up a decent point. He brought up a point talking about, I've seen this story with Tibbs for before, talking about what happened with Chicago. They got to the conference finals and that was their ceiling. Uh, the Wolves, they made the playoffs, but they didn't go anywhere after that. And then he was talking about what was it? Oh yeah, he was talking about Dana slipped my mind here. Excuse me for a second, folks. Um with the Knicks, this might not be their ceiling. This may only be their floor. First of all, what has Chicago done since Tibbs left? They haven't. I don't even think they've won a playoff series since Tibbs left. He left in what, 16? So I don't even think they've won a series. So that's one. Two, Minnesota. Reason that didn't work out because Jimmy Butler wanted to leave. Jimmy Butler wanted to go. By the way, people are going to be like, well, the season they had them, they were the 8th seed. They won 49 games in tough Western Conference. By the way, they were like a top 4 seed until Jimmy got hurt. And Jimmy came back like one of the last 2 games to help them get into the playoffs. It also didn't work out because he likes Thibodeau. He doesn't think Thibodeau's soft. He thought Wiggins and Towns were soft. And his problem was more with the GM and not trading him. Minnesota should have moved him. And then that whole debacle happened. And, Cat as a number 1 didn't work. Thibodeau got fired. Okay. And now with the Knicks, we'll see what happens here. I don't believe there is anybody out there as of right now, and I'm talking realistically, that will put you closer to a championship than where you were. I don't believe I don't even think Malone, and I like Malone. I don't even know if he puts you closer. Genuinely. I don't even know. Because those are the same style of coaches. Now, Malone's a little bit more flexible, and he is a little bit more experimental at times. But even with him, he's more of old school. I don't even know if he puts you closer. I'm telling you, I don't want to start yelling because I went on the rant, I said my piece, but it's a disgrace. I'm telling you, it's a disgrace. If they don't nail this hire, it will blow up in their face tremendously, and you know it. I don't know if this has something to do with Boston. This probably has something to do with Boston because they're going to think Boston's going to have a gap year until they won't be championship contenders until Tatum gets back, obviously. But Tibbs has given you sustained success. That's what he's done. He said, you know what? We're bad. I'm going to take a bad team. Okay. We're getting better. We get to the playoffs. Okay. We may take a step back, but then we take 2 steps forward because we get back to the playoffs. We win a series. We win another. We get back to the playoffs again. 50 wins this time. Win another series. Then we get another 50-win season. We win a series. We knock off the defending champs. Win that series. 2 games away from the finals. You can make the argument if they didn't lose game 1, there would have been a game 7 uh, on Monday night in New York, and you never know what would have happened. So I just find it hard to believe that Leon Rose made this move. I believe it's Dolan. I believe it's Dolan that made this. They've had 12 head coaches in his time as the owner. Dolan has no clue. He doesn't have a freaking clue. We know we've been over this. We know this. The reason the Knicks were successful is because Dolan got out of the way, out of the picture, and Leon Rose were building things the right way. Even when they didn't get KD and Kyrie, he did not panic. He built the right way through trades, through free agency, through the draft. the Knicks fans panicked, but he did, and he said, "We're going to build it the right way. We have the coach. We're just going to continue to make moves." Now, did the moves they made this past offseason, or were they a little bit skeptical? Yeah. Bridges' move, look, don't I didn't mind the move. I just think the draft capital was too much. That's all I'm saying. The draft capital was too much. 5 first-round picks, but they, for the most part, they've done a good. The Knicks organization, top to bottom, before this, had done a pretty good job of being stable, good organization. And you make this move for what? Oh well, we don't think Indiana was better. Newsflash, they were a better team. They had a better bench. Newsflash. The way you win, we talked about it. Stars in depth. Halliburton outplayed Brunson in Game 6. Siakam outplayed Towns a majority of the series. Sorry, that's what that's what happened. Your 2 stars for some of the series got outplayed by the Pacers' 2 stars. That it that that's what happened. Look, Thibodeau, should he have utilized his bench more early? Yes. Should he have experimented more? Probably earlier in the season, yes. But I don't think, I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that, yep, he should have been fired. He was rightly fired. No, he was unjustly fired. Mad Dog said it's a disgrace. He ripped the Knicks to shred. I'm ripping them to shreds because it's a disgrace. It's right in front of your face. You know it. If the Knicks don't go out and go to the NBA Finals next year at bare minimum, if they lose in the second round again or the first round, they will be laughed at and everything. If this coaching hire does not bring you a championship, bare minimum next 2 to 3 years, if you don't even make the finals and you start to regress backward, then the whole league is going to laugh at you. And by the way, if I'm a bad team, I said this yesterday, I'm trying to hire Thibodeau and get him a job. But this is going to kind of segue into here. Not really. The problem with NBA media, and I am putting this with the is Tyrese Halliburton a superstar convo. I'm kind of putting that in here because there have been some conversations. Is Halliburton a superstar? Is he not? I've heard some crazy takes during this playoffs. I've heard one of the Morris twins say that OKC's not a great team. 68 wins. They've won 12 games in the playoff, which total 80 wins. They're not a great team. Okay, bro. They lost 14 games in this season. They've won 68 out of 82. They have the MVP. They have 2 all NBA players, and they have a second pick a second pick that's coming to their own. But they're not a great team. They have depth as well. Okay, bro. Like, you're just saying, I think the problem with NBA media is people anoint players too soon. I remember when Hallie was doing his in-season tournament run, and there was a legit conversation on ESPN. Is he better than Steph Curry? Is he the best point guard in the game? Then his hamstring, he gets hurt. All of a sudden, we get to the playoffs. He wins a series. He goes against Brunson. Oh, Hallie's not this. Hallie's not that. Da 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 da. Well, but hold on. When he was, the only thing that slowed him down was injuries. when he was doing these historic things and when he was playing really, really well in the East Season Tournament, you guys proclaim ESPN, because that's who's responsible for this, so we'll call them out. You were the guys that were proclaiming him to potentially be this next great point guard. It's almost Magic Johnson like bro, slow down. And y'all are now doing the same thing with Ant. Y'all are putting Ant into conversations he doesn't. Y'all are putting Ant into MJ and Kobe convos. Why is Ant in those convos? He should not be in those conversations. The man is 23 years old and has not made the NBA Finals yet. Which, by the way, at 23 years old, I'm not expecting him to. But he goes out and he loses, and now all of a sudden he's not as good as we think he is. No, he's a great player, but you're putting him into MJ and Kobe combos. I can show you what Kobe was doing at 23 compared to what Ant was doing at 23. They're not on the same level. Why are we putting this man into Ant? Why are we putting this man into Kobe and MJ combos? And guess what? Devin Booker. And I know he's not in the playoffs, but when he was making his run in 2021, Stephen A was putting Booker in Kobe. His game reminds me of Kobe. Him and Max Kellerman. I haven't heard that since. After they lost to the Milwaukee, I haven't heard that since. Or mainly after they lost to Dallas, I haven't heard that since. It's getting ridiculous, man. I don't know what we're doing here. Genuinely don't know what we're doing here. They barely talked about Shai. They barely, in terms of talking about Shai. And I'm going to go to this YouTube video real quick, and I'm going to show y'all. Face of the League has been with these people. And I'm just going to share the screen, and I'm going to play a clip. By the way, I'm going to show y'all the title too. Ant-Man crowned the new face of the league too soon. This was literally y'all crowning him. Y'all, nobody else did. Y'all were. Stephen A was crowning Anthony Edwards. But let's get into
Edwards
this.
only got up 13 shot attempts and spoke on the idea of if he struggled.
I don't look at it like I struggled or he struggled. They had a good game plan, making us get
This
off.
was after game 4. I'm kind of going to skip a little bit here. Because the comments he was talking about Thunder had a great game plan. He was making the right play. Da da da.
I don't like you. Well, first of all, I would love to get back at you, but damn it, I'm tired. I can't wait till vacation. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm tired as hell. You know what I'm saying? I've been traveling so much, y'all. I'm just tired. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna front. But here's the deal. Here's the deal, y'all. There's levels to this. But like I told you before, when you're a number one option, everybody knows they have to game plan for you anytime they're going against your team. And you answer the call the way Anthony Edwards has answered the call over the last couple of years, averaging better than 25 a game, being a guy that has sent home LeBron and Luka this year, Last year, KD, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal in the first round, Jokic and Jamal Murray in the second round. You sent home Luka and LeBron this year. I'm not going to say Steph Curry because he was hurt and he had you. They were up 1-0 when Steph Curry went down 13 minutes in when he had already had 13 points with that hamstring injury. But you did send home Jimmy Butler. You did send home Draymond Green. And so I look at it from that standpoint, and I say this brother Ant-Man, who is averaging 31 on 56% shooting over games 2 and 3 of this series, being the personality that he is, with the talent, the athleticism that he has, being the face of the Minnesota Timberwolves franchise, I don't think we crowned him too soon at all. I think that when you look at, if you are a franchise, if you are an...
You're putting him in convos with people who Kobe is a top 10 player to ever play the game. Michael Jordan is probably the greatest basketball player to ever play the game. Did we crown Ant-Man too soon? How was Ant-Man better than Shea in terms of face of the league? If Shea wins a championship, it's his league. MVP, Western Conference Finals MVP. If he wins the chip, he may be a Finals MVP. I mean, seriously, what are we talking about here? Are we this serious?
Owner.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that the kind of talent you want?
Yeah.
That's the kind of talent you want. That's the kind of personality that you want. You don't want the performance that you received last night, but by and large, everything he is everything you want as the face of your franchise. And so because of that reality and the fact that he has, for the most part, lived up to it in his young career, I'm going to say we didn't crown him too soon. I'm not going to say that at all. It's just that SGA is somebody that we need to pay rapt attention to because his personality is smooth, mellowed, etc. But the brother's an assassin, averaged 32 a game this year, won league MVP, and then goes into a must-win situation against the Minnesota Timberwolves last night and drops 40, 10, and 9. It ain't about what Ant-Man is not, because I think he is legit. It's that we need to elevate the legitimacy of a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
Even as a league MVP, he still needs to be elevated because he's telling us he's on the verge of being a champion too.
I agree with you. I don't think, I think Ant-Man is everything he's hyped up to be. I believe
Ant-Man is great, but when you're putting him in convos like with Michael Jordan and LeBron James, I'm sorry, but it just don't work. Like, man. Like, it's just, I hate, this is the problem with media. We annoy dudes too soon. And then when they're not when they don't perform up to the high expectations that we have of them, they start backtracking. Oh, did we crown him too soon? Yeah, he didn't crown himself. That was y'all. That was y'all. And by the way, if you don't believe me, proof here. Compares MJ to Kobe. There's a bunch of videos. I'm not gonna get into it. Michael Jordan first take. I can go back here. Anthony Edwards and Michael Jordan We finally have the next Michael Jordan, Big Perk on the Anthony Edwards MJ debate. Now, I want to get into the Tyrese Halliburton. Conversation here. And I just want to play, but Tyrese Halliburton is not a superstar. This was after the
touches
30,
of black. They
this
stand
was
for
after the
elegance,
triple-double.
refinement, and though they're darker than the darkest night, they make you see everything in a new light.
Kia, movement that inspires.
Should the Knicks use the same starting lineup they used in Game 3?
Oh no, this was during. This was before then.
Halliburton being a superstar, right? I'm like, yo, he's a damn good player. He's not overrated. The brother can ball again, but he ain't a superstar.
Oh yeah, Stephen A. We didn't tell the whole story.
94 feet.
Superstar,
It could be important. What's up?
Stephen A. We didn't give the full context. We didn't tell the whole story.
A little bit out of there
It wasn't just superstar. It was young superstar. So we weren't putting him with like the LeBrons and the Stephs and the KDs. We were just talking about
young superstar.
the young guns.
My bad. My bad.
Right.
Molly, I want to ask the twins something.
Sure.
I want to ask the twins something because I already asked you this, and I was guilty of this. I think we're throwing around the word superstar too loosely.
Yes, I do.
Like
Finally, something I agree with. Finally. I'll get back to this in a minute because I want to make, this is the point I want to make. There is only about 7 to 8 superstars in the league. Joker, Shea, Steph, Bron, Steph, Bron, Giannis. I almost forgot him. Giannis, Luka. It depends. Kawhi. If we're doing when healthy, then Kawhi and Embiid. So there's 8. I don't think Hallie's a superstar. Or he could be, you know what? Hallie could be an emerging superstar. Ant is an emerging superstar. Brunson is an emerging superstar. Banchero is in that thing as well as emerging superstar, I think, as well. But I'm just saying, like, if we're talking actual superstars right now, like, they're at that level, there's only like 7 or 8 of them. We know that. Like, I'm not, like, and this is what I don't understand, really, about the media. We throw around the term superstar so loosely. And I can sometimes be guilty of it as well. I have called people superstars on this channel that probably should not have been called that. But the problem with the superstar convo is that, again, like I just said, there's only 7 or 8 of them. So, like, if I say Anthony Davis, is Anthony Davis a superstar? I don't think he is. Great player, don't think he's a superstar. KD's not a superstar anymore. Westbrook's not a superstar anymore. Kyrie, I think he's a star, don't think he's a superstar. But we've thrown that term around so loosely that if you say Anthony Davis is not a superstar, it's like, oh my God, you can't be serious. I think in 2020, AD was, to be honest, and I think AD's great. I don't know if he is a superstar. So again, this whole superstar convo debate, whatever, it's really stupid. It is. And this is where we take it a little bit too far, because I'm going to go to this Jay Williams thing. Jay Will was talking about this, and he said he sees flashes of Magic Johnson and John Stockton in Halliburton, which I guess flashes. He's, as long as he's not comparing him. I'm gonna let Jay Will's response run for about probably 2 minutes, and then here, because we're really, in terms of the time, we're really getting up there.
I feel like sometimes when I watch Cat and Jalen Brunson, I wonder if that's a little bit of fool's gold, right? Obviously, I know what Cat can do offensively, but where they were defensively is the problem. Now, look, last night, 17 turnovers, 22 points in transition for Indy. But there were so many times, Doggy and SA, where I watched where Cat wasn't even in the screen defensively when these possessions were going through and how fast these fast breaks were. And when I have people at the game that are talking to me about Tibbs telling Cat in a game 4 that you can't jog back on defense.
What Jay Will had.
Call it what you want to call it. He may not have the same pop as Steph. We haven't talked about him the way we talk about Edwards as the face of the league, or SGA is the MVP, or Big Body Brunson. But shame on us. We should be talking about him that way. And look, he is a master of nuances. The things that he does don't show up on the screen the way the normal person can see it. So me as a hooper, I'm going to start calling him a superstar, because I think that's the respect he warrants.
All right. SA, what do you have to...
This was after the triple-double game where he had no turnovers.
Look at Jay's face. What do you have to say about Tyrese Halliburton now?
Well, what I want to say is that I need to
put that there. Let's leave it there. Joins Oscar and Jokic as the only players in NBA history with 30, 10, 15 assists in a playoff game. By the way, did it with no turnovers.
to take off my mic and leave the rest of the show to Jay Williams and Mad Dog, because according to Jay on Get Up this morning, anybody who doesn't believe that Tyrese Halliburton is a superstar doesn't need to be talking basketball. So I guess I don't need to be talking basketball, because again, I'm not going to go that route. Tyrese Halliburton, I want to remind everybody of this because it's very, very important, because I don't want people to look at a dude who put forth a superstar performance last night, 30, 15, and 12 with 4 steals and not a single turnover. It was a spectacular superstar caliber performance. He deserves all the credit in the world for that. I'd like to remind people, this is a man that I wanted the New York Knicks to draft, not Obi Toppin, who, by the way, I like. I wanted them to draft Tyrese Halliburton because I thought the Knicks at the time needed a point guard, and he was the right guy to take. I didn't like the fact that they didn't take Tyrese Halliburton. The brother can ball. But when I think about a superstar, I'm thinking about you being a consistent #1 option that teams have to game plan against every single night, and you answer the call. And to me, that hasn't always been Tyrese Halliburton. Even in this series, there's been a couple of games where he has.
Okay, is Jay? Okay, I was about to say, is Jay Slee?
Been there. That can happen to any superstar. I'm not implying that it doesn't. I'm simply saying I don't view him that way. Not yet. I think he's a damn good player. He's a young star in this league. I think the brother, if he continues to play this way, if he's more consistent with this kind of stuff, of course he'll be a superstar. That doesn't mean you have to do 30 and 15 or triple-double in order to be a superstar. I'm just simply saying that there are many, many nights during the regular season where you look at Tyrese Halliburton and you find him to be a very good player. You don't view him as a star. He has been a star against the New York Knicks.
See, there's my problem with it. He said regular season. Regular season is not where you make your superstar. The postseason is. That's where you make your superstar. The postseason is where you make it. The postseason is where you really become that superstar. And Halliburton's making a legacy right now in the postseason.
There is no question about that. And he has been shown an ability to close in the first 2 series leading into the conference finals. But I don't view him that way. Not yet. That's all I'm saying. He's damn good. He's a star. He's damn good. He's a young rising star in this game. He has to keep it up. But I need to see more consistency before I give him that kind of label.
Jay, I have to agree with Stephen A. I think superstar's a little strong. I love him too, and he had an incredible game last night. Let's give him credit, and he was great against Milwaukee in Game 5 and against Cleveland with the offensive rebound, coming back and making the 3 in Game 2. I understand he's had some superstar moments, but superstar, boy, that's a little strong. You know, Jordan's a superstar. LeBron's a superstar.
And people will say Mad Dog is hating. He's not. He's stating the facts. It is okay to be a little conservative. Superstar is a little strong. Now, if he comes out in the finals, and by the way, I love Haliburton. To me, he's our superstar in terms of Indiana. That's just what I'm saying. But I'm saying if the national media they need to chill on these labels. That's all I'm saying. And we're gonna stop it here. Maybe we can continue this convo another day. But I'm just saying, and everybody has their different definition of superstar. My definition is superstar is, are you a great player? Do you do things that don't show up in the stat sheet? Do you also do things that show up in the stat sheet? And what kind of an impact do you have on your team? I don't really care about the marketability as much as people think. The marketability is fine. And if that's one of your criteria, that's okay. But I just don't look at it that way. I think Haliburton's in that young, emerging, rising superstar conversation. Anyways, that is it for the Don't Argue with the Fact podcast. I've been your host, Noah Love. And until next time, Thunder Pacers game 1 tomorrow, by the way. ABC, don't miss it. All right. See ya.